All right. I just wanted to make this video to let people in on how far back I go with the NBA. And although I have the NBA playoffs 2001 logo up here, my my fanatic experience and all my learning process of how the NBA works, it really started all the way back in 1998. But even though I've been watching the game before that, but when 96, when Iverson went at Jordan and Kobe and them came in the league, like the game was changing a little bit, changing the guard. 98 was Jordan's last hoorah. So I didn't get a chance to really watch the prime Jordan, the 80s Jordan. I wasn't alive for that, but if you haven't been watching the NBA for at least 20 years, and I know for a lot of y'all that fuck with me, that fuck with my channel, or a lot of y'all that's gonna mess, like a lot of y'all online heads in the future that's gonna be in the comments. A lot of y'all is like 19, 18, 17, 20, 21, 22. They're like, yo, of course not, man. I'm only 20 some years old. Just pay fucking attention, bro. I have known that the NBA has been in business for at least the last, I'd say, 15 plus years. You could arguably say 20 years, but I say that about 15, 16 years, stuff like that. And this playoffs kind of reminds me of the Eastern Conference back in 2001. This whole playoffs kind of reminds me of that, because even though it's looking wide open, it's not really wide open. It's not really. Still to this day, I don't know how the Sixers got out of the East that year. And 17 years later, they are quote unquote the favorites to get out of the East this year, with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid playing this year. And for a lot of people that don't really pay attention, that is real avid about their favorite players, because a large percentage of quote unquote NBA basketball fans is like, they mostly on Twitter or on 2K. Like a large percentage of them, like a good large percentage of them, like I'd say 50. That's a little bit too large for me. The other half is actually at the games watching that shit. Like they got playoff tickets and shit like that. So for me, like if you don't go back at least 20 years with how the NBA works, how the NBA playoffs work, don't talk to me. Like there's nothing you can really say to me, bro. I haven't been wrong yet. I have not been. I don't think I've been wrong about anything yet. Like I know how shit is gonna break down. I know what they're gonna try to do for LeBron James. Like I just know it. I know it, man. Like there's nothing. I just know it. And as I look up to the top right, which a lot of y'all can't see, but I'm gonna try to show y'all in a minute. It's basically how the 2001 NBA playoffs shaped out in the East. And it was really a changing of the guard, because look at, I want y'all to pay and look at all of the teams that made it, that advanced in the East. Now this is 2001. Remind you, You had Iverson and the Sixers. You had that old Pacers team of the 90s. That I don't think they had Jermaine O'Neal and Ron Artest during that time. That was like mid-2000s. You had the Knicks team that made it out in '89. They got beat by one of my favorite teams at that time. Was with Vince Carter and the Raptors. You had the Bucks playing. The Bucks were Ray Allen and Sam Cassell and Glenn Robinson playing T-Mac and Orlando Magic, who never got out of the first round. And that old Miami Heat team that used to challenge in the late 90s. They used to challenge the Knicks in the late 90s. They got beat by the Charlotte Hornets, who I believe they had Baron Davis. So I'm just taking a look at the East, not the West. The West, we pretty much know that Shaq and Kobe was pretty much running do shit during that time. If a lot of y'all remember, because 2K will remind you. A lot of y'all wasn't alive to watch. But it's a lot of 90s and millennials that don't really know about these days. Don't really remember these days. They was too young. So this was really my era of, I can honestly say this was really my era of being a true fanatic of the game. Because today I'm kind of more of a, I'm kind of sad it's kind of sad to me what the NBA has turned into. You know, because if you look at all of these teams had their own identities, had at least one guy that could get you 30, 40, 50 points. You know what I'm saying? As I look at the playoffs today, it's not too many players on every team. It's a player on every team in this entire bracket that I'm looking at that could give you 40 to 50 points. It was a player on each team. The Sixers, AI was known for dropping 50. The Pacers, Reggie Miller could get hot for 50. The Knicks, who had Allen Houston and Sprewell. Allen Houston had put up 50. Vince had put up 50. Glenn Robinson and Ray Allen could put up 50 on the Bucks. T-Mac could put up 50 on Orlando. Miami Heat, I think Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, they could put up 50 on you. Baron Davis could go off for 30, 40 points. I think they had Jamal Mashburn at the time, who could go off for 40. Tim Duncan and David Robinson, they could go off for 40, 50 points in their day. KG, the Minnesota Timberwolves, he could go off for that. Dirk, Michael Finley, they could go off for that in Dallas. Karl Malone, he could go off 40, 50 points, thousands. They had players that could go off. Sacramento Kings, man, they had players. C. Webb, bum ass, he could go off for 40, 50 points. And the Suns, if I remember, I think they had Jason Kidd, and that was probably one of the few teams that didn't really have nobody during them years. But as I look today's NBA, like the current players that's playing today, I'm not talking about Curry, I'm not talking about KD that's hurt, I'm not talking about none of the players that's out. If you look at it, it's not that many players that can do what these players back then was able to do. And this was in like the post, the beginning stages of the post handshake era, when zones was starting to get incorporated. But my history with basketball goes back 20 years, man. And a lot of people that know or don't know, one of my favorite players growing up was Vince Carter. And now I have five of my favorite players all played in this playoffs. AI, T-Mac, Duncan, Garnett, and Vince Carter was my favorite player. Vince Carter was my favorite player at the age I was 9 years old when I first seen Vince Carter. I was 9. I was like 11. I was like 13 years old during this playoffs. Vince Carter was like my dude. Like there was a lot of shit that he did that normal people can't do. A lot of y'all dudes with favorite players today, y'all can do all the shit that they can do. Damian Lillard, motherfucking Curry, James Harden, y'all can do all of that shit. They don't do nothing but manipulate the game and manipulate the rules. These dudes had natural talent. No, I could go on for days, man, about what this play. You know, those days are long gone. But this is how far back I go with the NBA. So nobody can. So when I say shit, you'll get mad, you'll get frustrated, you'll be like, yo, what the hell is this nigga talking about? But you'll know deep down in your soul, deep down in your heart, man, it's all facts. I don't speak off speculation. I speak facts. Everything I told you thus far is facts in my videos, man. So it's either you take it, you learn from it, or you just keep hip-hopping it out. Real nigga out dick, man. Playoff season. I guess this is what it's all about.